G'day guys, it's Mark here from North Oz, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you my 12-month 11,000 kilometer review of my 2021 Landcruiser Prado 150. I'm going to share with you my only experience of this vehicle so far, and we'll also touch on some of the main strengths and weaknesses of this vehicle. At the end of this video, we'll conclude with whether or not this vehicle is right for me, and perhaps if it is the right truck for you. So let's get straight into the video without further ado. So next to me here is my 2021 Toyota Landcruiser Prado 150. It is the GXL model. It's got a few modifications on it, which I've documented in great detail on this channel. So that sets it up. It is automatic. It's got the 2.8 litre turbo diesel direct injection engine in it. And it's also got a DPF and things like that. So it's a new car with all the new diesel technology as well. Starting off with one of the most important things anyone should be considering when purchasing a vehicle or when we are reviewing a vehicle, it is reliability. Let's talk about the first thing that I'm sure you're wondering about. Is this vehicle reliable? This is going to be a quick one. Absolutely. Yes, it is. It's a Toyota. It's brand new. No issues with the DPF at all. All the technology in it works and works perfectly. It's been a great car for me. I can't really speak much else about it because there's been no issues. The most asked question on this channel is how much fuel economy does this truck get? And I can tell you pretty safely, it's around 9 to 9.5 litres per 100 kilometres, depending what we're doing. And I get around 8 to 900 kilometres out of a tank. And that's because this has the single 87 litre tank in it and not the dual tank, because it is optioned with the flat back. The size of this vehicle is absolutely perfect. Any bigger and I'd probably get more damage to the car. I've already got pinstriping on it from going down some narrow tracks. So in terms of the size, probably the biggest SUV slash full drive slash truck I would ever want to own. In terms of, is it big enough? Yes, it is. If anything, maybe a little bit more interior space would be good because it is kind of shaped like, nice and streamlined, unlike the Land Cruisers, which you can fit a little bit more in. But it's pretty good in terms of being able to, being modular. You can put drawer systems and stuff in the back and make the back a little bit more user-friendly without having to use those seats 6 and 7. So in terms of size, I've really appreciated having the extra size of being the wagon as opposed to having my very small interior space of my old truck. In terms of features, this truck has everything I need and nothing more. One of the features I really appreciate is my center diff lock and the rear diff lock from the factory, which is a pretty big deal. If you have a look at a lot of the four-wheel drives in a similar price bracket, you'll be pretty hard pressed to find many four-wheel drives that come factory with a center and a rear diff lock. This has come in very handy in a few of our little off-road adventures. In terms of other features, it's got pretty much everything else you need. You can look at, I'm sure, a spec sheet and tell you everything you need to know, but the headlights on these are great from the factory. I've spoken about this in the past. You probably don't even need to have, light bar or driving lights because these things are actually really bright unless you're in extreme circumstances, of course. Everything on here just works. The adaptive cruise control is great as well, especially on those long highway trips. The seats have excellent lumbar support and adjustable lower back support as well. So it's just a comfortable car to drive in, to be in, and it just does everything well. It doesn't do anything extremely well, which I think a lot of people are like, well, it's not like a 200 series Land Cruiser because it's missing this and it's missing that. Yeah, but you also have to understand this is a $70,000 vehicle. The 200 and 300 series Land Cruiser, that's a $120,000+ vehicle. You're getting for almost half of the price, you're getting a lot of vehicle for your money. Now, I already spoke a little bit about the rear and center diff locks. So this vehicle is capable off-road, but if you want to have a look at some of my other videos, like my beach driving video and my stock Prado, basically a flog test, just giving it everything it's got on the stock equipment, stock tires, everything. It is very capable in a lot of situations, and if you know and the basics about air pressure of tires and stuff, it'll get you everywhere you pretty much need to go, except for really, really extreme circumstances, which would be doing things like tires and lift anyway if you are in those circumstances. But in terms of general off-road capability, everyone makes fun of the Prado, saying that, there's heaps of memes and stuff about it as well, saying that they're basically mall crawlers and they're just for families, and absolutely they are for families. But it's because they're reliable and they'll get you where you need to go. And 100%, this vehicle is excellent for so many different people in terms of families and people that just want to go off-road and have extra space. people don't understand that these things, although many people don't take them off-road, these things are a Land Cruiser. They are designed to go off-road. They are designed to take a beating. So while this truck is absolutely unreal off-road, it is also extremely good on the road, and a big reason why a lot of people use these vehicles to tow, because they're just so comfortable. You can travel long periods of time, and I've done really big stretches in this vehicle, traveling hours and hours without a break, but it's because it's a comfortable place to be and it doesn't fatigue you, and you don't feel like you have to keep stopping and stretching out because there's just so much room in the interior, and the seats are very supportive and very comfortable. So this vehicle on the road, so quiet on the stock suspension, which is all I can speak to at the moment because I've got stock suspension, tires, everything. In its stock form, it is a very quiet, pleasant place to be in. And that's really all I can say. Off-road, it's great with even just the stock suspension and tires and everything and wheels. And on the road, it's very pleasant. You know, there's really nothing to report. It's quiet. It gets on the highway, gets even better fuel economy if you're not doing extreme hills and you're not in really tough terrain. You can be getting 7 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway with this thing. I mean, which for the size of the vehicle is just absolutely unreal. This model of truck is from 2009. Of course, it's had a few little things changed on it, like engine and the looks of it as well. But in general, this is a 2009 vehicle. Now, you can look at things, kind of a good way or a bad way in regards to the age of this model. Think of it as a bad way, as thinking it needs to be updated. I disagree. But if we're talking about the length of the vehicle in terms of how long it's been around for, it is excellent for aftermarket parts because it's had 13 years of basically R&D from other companies to be able to provide not only parts, but also provide parts a little bit cheaper. So if you compare that to brand new parts from, say, a 300 series, you'll find that they're going to be a lot more expensive than the parts of this vehicle. So in terms of the aftermarket list and the aftermarket part catalog for this vehicle, it is massive. And actually every week I keep searching for more and more parts just to see what's out there. And I keep seeing that the part list for this is growing every week because these cars are popular and they continue to sell. And you can see why, because they are really fantastic. They're very good entry-level Land Cruiser. So this is going to upset about 50% of you out there, but I have appreciated the flat back version of this car. It's super handy for just everyday use, just having that little back going up. And also it is great for camping because I don't have to open up the whole back of the car to get what I want. Press a button, put my hand in, get what I want. So that's going to upset quite a few people out there, but that's okay. It's my opinion. I like the flat back version of this vehicle, even though I'm losing out on a little bit of fuel. But for me, it's not a problem and I haven't run into any issues just yet. I really like the interior of this vehicle. It's very comfortable. Everything is within arm's reach. Everything is easy to use. There's enough blanking plates for accessories, so I can add things like lights, which I have done. And everything in here just works. I've got all my diff locks all in the one spot with all my traction control, my hill descent, everything here that you could possibly want, all within arm's reach. In terms of the seats being removable, I've removed the back row, so seats 6 and 7. I've also removed one of the second row passenger seats as well, just to make a little bit more room for some of my trips. One of my favorite things about camping is actually just the drive there, because this vehicle just makes it so enjoyable. The speakers, once they're all going, there's heaps of bass, there's everything that you could want. The Apple CarPlay's going, I can play podcasts, ebooks, music, and once you're actually in here and the sound deadening is doing its job and the speakers are going, it's just a great place to be. So I really appreciate that Toyota put in a little bit of effort regarding the speakers, and it does pay off because it means I don't have to strip down the entire vehicle to replace the speakers like I've done in pretty much every one of my other builds so far. So the next things we're going to talk about are, again, some weaknesses, and they are the things that I really don't like and that I've kind of picked up just from using this vehicle all day, every day for the last 12 months. The first thing that we'll talk about is the price. It's the elephant in the room. It is expensive in terms of comparing it to vehicles similar to it, in terms of the 4-cylinder, off-road truck. If you kind of take those things into consideration, this is probably the most expensive four-wheel drive in that category. And it's for good reason. It's got the Land Cruiser name. And for some people, it might not mean much, but because it is a Prado, but it is exactly that. It is a Land Cruiser, and these things are tough. These things, from the very first models when they were first brought out, they are still going strong. These Prados will last a very long time. Now, I'm not justifying it by saying stick the Land Cruiser badge on it, you put whatever price you want on it. But if you think of it as kind of like the base model Land Cruiser or the base model 300 series, or however you want to look at it, it is a very nice vehicle. The stuff that you get in this vehicle, if you're just talking about the features, how many vehicles will have, well, in the Toyota lineup, because Toyota, we know, has a Toyota tax, it's what you pay for. But how many Toyotas have this amount of technology in it? How many Toyotas have the HID headlights? How many Toyotas have the center and rear diff locks? How many Toyotas have the Apple CarPlay, the sound deadening that this car has? Just go down the list, all the airbags and the safety features and all that. You're probably going to come very close to a Hilux. And even those aren't that much and that far off in that kind of spec, the price of this vehicle. So buying a Hilux probably won't fix your problem. So if we're talking about in terms of, is it expensive? Yes, it is expensive. We've covered that. But sit down, have a look at the features, compare it to other vehicles like the Isuzus and whatever you want to compare it to. And actually have a good think about, if you had all of the diff locks and everything else that this car has, is it going to be that much more? And can you get the same reliability and engine life and vehicle life out of those vehicles compared to a Toyota? Now, I threw out some single digit numbers for my average fuel economy on this vehicle, but under load, the engine is not great from my experiences so far. I see quite a bit my fuel economy climbing up to the 20s liters per 100 kilometers, and that is under load. So talking about going up extreme inclines, and that might be a bit of a concern, especially for people that are towing. And we do have very exciting YouTube channel news coming up, North Oz news coming up in terms of the towing side of things. So I'll leave that for another video. So we will be doing some testing regarding towing, but even just under incline load, I do notice that this engine is very poor, and you actually may be better off if you're doing lots of towing and lots of inclines. You may be better off with a V8. But again, I can't speak to that entirely. I can only tell you that on inclines, from my experience so far, this is a very thirsty engine. It would have been great if we had just a little bit more adjustability in the seats. They are fine and they are great, but the thigh rest, for whatever reason, does not work very well with my legs. I think it might be a little bit too high up, the thigh support. So I would appreciate it if there was a little bit more flexibility in terms of being able to adjust the thigh support. For whatever reason, my keyless entry is very temperamental. I don't know why. Sometimes, some weeks, it'll be very quick to unlock with or without the key. And other times I'll be right next to it clicking the button and it still won't unlock or lock. So I don't know if that's an issue with the battery running low very quickly. I'm going to change out the battery and see if that makes a difference. But after a year, I wouldn't expect the battery and the key to be going flat. So that's something that I've just noticed, that just locking and unlocking it's very temperamental. I have to be right up close to it to be able to do it. You can't just go, 10 meters, 15 meters away and click the button and just to check that the car is locked. You have to come all the way back, press the button and do it. So that's just something that's really annoyed me lately. And just one of the things that I've picked up. I've taken this truck back to get it serviced a couple of times, and I've asked them about the paint, because the paint has all these little rust spots on it. Now, they didn't really have much of an answer for me. We think, and they think as well, that it might just be contaminants from the factory that have gotten onto the clear coat and are rusting off, and are rusting and making that ugly. There's kind of like really small rust streaks. You wouldn't see it from, maybe a couple of meters away, but when you get up close to it, you're washing the car, you can actually see it. So I'm not sure if that's a metallic flake in here in the paint being exposed and rusting, or if it's actually just contaminants embedded in the clear coat and rusting. But that's just an issue that I've found has appeared and that I've noticed. It's a white car, so you'll see the rust and you'll see the dark dirt spots quite easily. But yeah, the rusting on the paint, not good. Coming from manual vehicles and now I have an automatic vehicle, I am battling a little bit with this automatic transmission. At times it'll be gear hunting, it'll be dropping down and then going up, especially on inclines. It doesn't really know what gear to be in sometimes, especially when I'm on the highway. Around that kind of 85 to 90 and then going up to 100, it often won't click over to the final gear to drop down the revs. I actually have to put it into like sport mode, drop it into 6, and then go back into normal mode, or rev it up a little bit and then drop back and then accelerate slightly so that it stays in the gear. So there's a little bit of experimenting going on in terms of trying to figure out this transmission. I'm not sure if that's a general automatic transmission thing or if it's, or if it's specific to the Toyotas. I'm not sure, but like I said, I have very little experience with automatics. I've had three manual vehicles in the past, and so I don't have much to do with the automatics. But it's the same thing on my dad's 2022 Prado as well. I noticed that it does a little bit of the same, which could be pretty annoying, especially in terms of fuel economy and trying to keep that down. And especially if you're towing, you probably don't want to be in that 5th gear when you could be in that 6th gear, saving some fuel as well. The CarPlay on this truck is great, but you need to plug it in to use the CarPlay. It does connect through Bluetooth and I can still do Spotify and stuff through it, but if you want to use all the features of CarPlay, you need to plug it in to the USB, which is annoying. I mean, wireless CarPlay should pretty much be standard on a lot of vehicles these days, but a lot of manufacturers aren't doing it still. But for me, that's just kind of annoying. Like, to always have to have my Apple, cable to plug it in, it's just another thing I have to, do. And also too, there's only one USB in the vehicle and it's in the center console that you can actually use the Apple CarPlay with. So it's not like you can put it anywhere you want, plug it into any USB you want. It has to be plugged into that CarPlay USB, which is annoying because it's right in the middle. So you either have to have a cable drooped over the front of your dashboard, or you're going to put it in your glove compartment, which will still have cables and stuff lying around. So again, it's just another thing that I just find that just annoys me. I have to make sure that I'm getting it plugged in and everything ready to go before I am starting my trip. On the 2021 Prado, there are no front sensors from stock on the GXL. There are rear parking sensors, but no front ones. And I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but again, it just gives people another reason to say, oh, but this vehicle has, that's a lot cheaper, has front sensors. And when people start bringing up those arguments, it kind of starts making sense. So I think Toyota did fix that with the 2022 Prado that Dad's got. He's got front sensors in his, but 2021 and before wouldn't have had the front sensors, which is just, again, something that's like, now that they've put it in the 22 model, it's kind of like, well, you feel a little bit hard done by, because now it's like, well, I have to upgrade if I want to get the front sensors as well. So again, they could have just included that. I'm sure it wouldn't have cost them much money, and they included on their Corollas and stuff as well. So again, expensive vehicle, that would have been nice to have. Now, likewise with Dad's 2022 Prado, he has automatic folding mirrors. This has automatic folding mirrors, but you have to actually press the button to actually get them to close. So his has a little option that's got a little A on it, but mine is just open or closed. His has open, closed, and A. So when he gets out of the car and locks his vehicle, the folding mirrors shut. And because before I turn the car off, I have to close the mirrors, if I am, say, on a busy street and I'm using the side mirrors to get out, I can't do that. So I won't be able to have my mirrors closed and still be able to see what is going on if I'm getting out on a busy street. Now, a lot of Land Cruisers and a lot of vehicles have 12-month service intervals, but this has 6-month service intervals, which does add to the cost of ownership of this truck. So that's just something that every 6 months I get a message, make sure you are, coming in and make sure that you're getting your car service. You don't want to lose out on your, 7-year warranty. And it's just always that stress and always that pressure of every 6 months, I got to book this car in to have it serviced. Now, although I would be servicing this vehicle every 6 months anyway, having that warranty pressure every 6 months is a little bit of a hassle. So the big question, in conclusion, do I regret purchasing this vehicle? And the answer to that is no, but there is also a part of me that's kind of thinking, would another truck suit my needs a little bit better? I think we all have that kind of thought going around in our mind that, you know, they bring out new vehicles, or there's other models that you avoided, or that you chose this vehicle over, and you kind of have that regret of thinking, should I have purchased that vehicle instead of this one? So I'm kind of going through a little bit of that now after a year of ownership. Now, it's not that big of a deal because there's still a lot of things I want to do to this vehicle in terms of fitting out the back and changing up my DIY setup, because I'm not too happy with a few things on it. So I am going to be still perfecting that and modifying that to try to get that to a level where I'm happy. So I was thinking though about getting a 76 series Land Cruiser. I've put out a couple of polls on the channel, and the majority of you guys would like to see either a 76 or a 79 series Land Cruiser on the channel. I probably wouldn't go for a 79 series Land Cruiser because of the extra cost of building out the canopy, which is a main reason why I purchased the wagon. So I would probably be looking at a 76 series and building that up to a level of comfort that is, I guess, on par with this, and that you know, is also going to have the off-road capabilities in terms of lockers and things like that. So yeah, do I regret buying this vehicle? No way. Great vehicle, does everything I ask it to do, super comfy, great off-road. If you're concerned about whether or not you should buy this and whether or not I've regretted it so far, I have not regretted it so far. It has been fantastic. But there is always that thought that I'm having that if I did try out the 76 series for a little bit, it would give me good information for you guys to compare to the Prado. But for now, with the resources that we have available to us, I'm more than happy to stick with the Prado. Gets me camping, takes all the equipment and stuff that I need, and it is just wonderful. It's just a great vehicle, and I'm very lucky to have a vehicle like this. It is a new car, and I've always wanted a Land Cruiser, even though it is a Prado. I've always wanted a Land Cruiser, and it has just been a great ownership experience so far. So I'm very fortunate to own a vehicle like this, and like a lot of you guys have mentioned in the comments as well, saying how lucky I am, and absolutely I am. You know, very lucky to own this vehicle, and you know, all the hard work that I've put in to buy this vehicle, it is not wasted. So I haven't regretted this at all, but there is always that little part of me that maybe wishes that I could try out the 76 series Land Cruiser for a comparison. So that concludes my 12-month, 11,000 kilometer ownership experience, I guess you could call it, of this vehicle. So thank you so much for watching. If this helped you out, please consider subscribing and like the video as well. It's a really big thing, because then other people can get more of a chance to see it. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.